जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। गोपी जना वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। गोपी जना वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यमुना तीरवनचारी। यमुना तीरवनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यमुना तीरवनचारी। यमुना तीरवनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 30, Text 22. Prachetasa uchuhu Namo Nama Klesha Vinashanaya Nirupito Dara Gunaha Vyaya Manovacho Vega Puro Javaya Sarvakshamargair Agatadvane Namaha. Namo Nama Klesha Vinashanaya Nirupitodaragunahvayaya Manovacho vegapuro javaya Sarvakshamargair agatadhvane namaha Namo namaklesha vinashanaya Nirupitodaragunahvaya Manovacho vegapuro javaya Sarvakshamargair agatadhvane namaha Prachetasa uchuhu Namo nama klesha vinashanaya Nirupitodaragunahvayaya Prachetasa uchu Namo namo klesha vinashanaya Ladies, please. Prachetasah uchu. The Prachetas said, Namaha, obeisances. Namaha, obeisances. Klesha, material distress. Vinashanaya, unto one who destroys. Nirupita, settled. Udara, magnanimous. Guna, qualities. Ahvayaya, whose name. Manaha, of the mind. Vachaha, of speech. Vega, the speed. Puraha, before. Javaya, whose speed. Sarva aksha, of all material senses, margaihi, by the paths, agata, not perceivable, advane, whose course, namaha, we offer our respects. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Pracheta spoke as follows: Dear Lord, you relieve all kinds of material distress. Your magnanimous transcendental qualities and holy name are all auspicious. This conclusion is already settled. You can go faster than the speed of mind and words. You cannot be perceived by material senses. We therefore offer you respectful obeisances again and again. Purport. The word nirupita, meaning concluded, is very significant in this verse. No one has to conduct research work to find God or make progress in spiritual knowledge. Everything is conclusively there in the Vedas. Therefore, the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, text 15, Vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedya. Understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the process of the Vedas is perfect and conclusive. The Vedas state, Atah Sri Krishna Nama Adi na bhaved grahyam indriyai. The transcendental names, forms, qualities, paraphernalia, and pastimes of the Lord cannot be understood by our blunt material senses. Sevan mukhehi jivado swayameva spruhati adaha. When a devotee engages his senses favorably in devotional service, the Lord, through His causeless mercy, reveals Himself to the devotee. This is the conclusive Vedic process. The Vedas also indicate that simply by chanting the holy names of the Lord, one can without a doubt become spiritually advanced. We cannot approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the speed of mind or words. But if we stick to devotional service, we can easily and quickly approach Him. In other words, the Supreme Lord is attracted by devotional service, and He can approach us more swiftly than we can approach Him with our mental speculation. The Lord has stated that He is beyond the range of mental speculation and the speed of thought. Yet He can be approached easily by His causeless mercy. Thus only by His causeless mercy can He be attained. Other methods will not be effective. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhya evacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So starting with this verse, the Prachetas are offering prayers to Lord Vishnu. Their prayer starts with Namo Namaha and ends with Namaha. So they're offering their obeisances again and again. Now this is not in the purport, but this is an important principle. That the first principle of bhakti, or the ground work on which or in which the seed of bhakti can fructify, is submission, or having a submissive spirit. One may be very educated, very intelligent, very gifted, can be very efficient from a material perspective, can be very rich, whatever. If one is not submissive, the bhakti lata will not fructify. And submissiveness has many aspects. One aspect is being very respectful to other living entities, first of all. Another aspect of submission is to not expect any respect in return. Another aspect of submission is to be obedient. Whatever is the instruction, whether we like it or not like it. I mean, being obedient when we like the instruction is quite easy. We all love it. But being obedient when we don't like the instruction, it's something that is different from the way we are thinking. To be submissive to such a higher order is the real test of submission. Only when one is submissive does one earn the qualification or right to ask a question. Without that submission, one has no right to ask a question to a guru. That's why Krishna says, pranipatena, only then is pariprashna. He didn't use pariprashna first. Because without a submissive spirit, the inquiry will not be effective. The inquiry will not be genuine. If one simply asks or is inquisitive or asks questions of a bona fide spiritual master without submission, that inquiry is laced with pride. That inquiry will be laced with challenge. And with that one will not benefit. So, the first order of business is to become submissive. Now, the modern idea, or the modern thought, is quite contradictory to this. And we are all the fortunate products of modern thought, or unfortunate products of modern thought. So, fitting into a devotional paradigm makes it a little difficult in the beginning. It's like a brand new shoe that you have to break into. It's not easy. There are a few bruises. Feet are sore. And then we get used to it. But submission is first order business. And when one makes proper inquiry, only then one is qualified for proper service. Therefore, we notice that in the entire history of a person meeting a bona fide spiritual master or a devotee, there is first thing is submission. In whatever or to whatever degree, if there is no submission, their inquiry will not be beneficial. So first submission is when we see a personality like a spiritual master or a very senior devotee, then the persons automatically pay respects. Some people fall at the feet of, let's say, Srila Prabhupada is meeting someone, somebody will fall at Prabhupada's feet. If nothing else, they will fold their palms and bow their head like that. That is submission. That is the beginning of it. Then they are qualified to ask a question. So it is said that when someone meets a person like that, or meets a devotee, if there is submissiveness, then there is the beginning of a relationship of bhakti. In the absence of that, the submissiveness is brought about by distribution of prasadam. Because once you give prasadam, only a fool will say no. The moment they extend their hand to receive prasadam, they are submissive to prasadam. So their inquisitiveness or asking a question, they become qualified. I like to say this again and again. There's one Prabhu, well, it's not Prabhu, whatever. Prabhu, one man came to fix this beautiful gate that is there in front of Kishore Kishori. So he was working here. His name is, I forget his name. Harun, David Harun. So I gave him this most coveted brown barfi, which, by the way, nobody in the congregation gets it. You know why, right? Why nobody in the congregation or even visitors who come early in the morning at 7 o'clock don't get brown barfi? Because as soon as it comes out, the resident bhaktas devour the brown barfi. It vanishes. So anyone who comes after 7:10 gets only the white sandesh. And after 10 o'clock, even that's not there. There's a little crumbs here and there that... So I gave David Harun this really coveted brown barfi, and he took it, bit into it, and said, what is this? I said, this is called barfi. It is milk condensed over hours and hours with sugar. He put it in the garbage. He said, I thought it was a piece of meat. He was expecting a piece of meat. That was David Harun. He was so disappointed. People, they become submissive through prasadam. Here the prachetas, they didn't have that problem. They were already submissive to higher authority like their father and then to Lord Shiva. So they have full qualification to offer these prayers to Lord Vishnu. So they are offering prayers with full realization. The realization is nirupita. It has been concluded. What is conclusive? That the Supreme Personality of Godhead is extremely merciful, udara, magnanimous, and guna ahvayaya. That his magnanimity is that he is very accessible. He becomes very, very accessible through his qualities and his name specifically, who otherwise is inaccessible. And he is so inaccessible that one might have the full ability to move at the speed of the mind, or the speed of words. Now, speed of words does not mean, only Indian people can speak fast. Have you noticed? My gosh. Even, I think, even the Spanish, Latin people, they speak so fast. That's not the speed of word. Speed of word means I can say Mumbai or China or someplace. The words carry me to the place. And the mind, even by remembering Beijing, I don't know how Beijing looks like, so I can't remember it, but by saying Beijing or Siberia or something, tens of thousands of miles we cover within a moment. The Supreme Lord is faster than that. So from this side, for a person who doesn't carry proper regard and submission within his or her heart for Krishna, one might be qualified like anything, yet the Lord remains inaccessible. And the whole, the funny thing about it is that they may be standing right in front of Krishna, and still Krishna may be very inaccessible. So accessibility is determined by the condition of the heart. What is our disposition towards Krishna? When our hearts are favorably disposed, submissively disposed, since we're talking of submission here, when our hearts are submissively disposed, Krishna makes himself extremely accessible. And when our hearts are not submissively disposed, Krishna makes himself extremely difficult to access. impossible to access. So the onus is on us as to how we want to cultivate our heart to attract Krishna's mercy. So it has been concluded that one doesn't have to do research to find out who is God. One doesn't have to do research about how to approach God. It's already been concluded. The Vedas have complete information about God, God's names, God's form, God's qualities, God's activities, God's place of residence, God's devotees, how they look, how they act, how they behave, where they are at, what do they do. There is so much information. So one doesn't have to do any research to say, I will not accept this. On my own, I will find out. This is the extreme foolishness of a living entity. To think that I can approach truth on my own. And that foolishness binds the living entity in this world for eternity. Because one can be searching and searching and searching and not get the truth. The way to approach truth is to connect to the absolute realm. By our mind and senses, we can do a fantastic job, at best, within the relative realm. Anything that we can do is within the relative realm. We have no idea what is the absolute realm. In fact, our minds, even if they are so strong, even if our intelligence is very acute, we still don't know how to manage dichotomies in our lives. Very simple dichotomies, meaning that mercy can also mean that Krishna is killing the demons. That's a dichotomy that we can't fit in. Because we have such a one-track understanding of how these attributes should look like. For example, that you can be very merciful while being violent. We don't know how to accommodate that. For example. So what to speak of what is in the absolute realm? And Krishna is so merciful that even while he is killing a demon, he's showing his love to the demon. That is his love. Oh, how can that be love, Prabhu? But that's because we don't know how to manage dichotomies. Very simple things also. Then what to speak of understanding God and His nature? So we need the assistance, or more than assistance, we need the mercy of Guru and Krishna. And it is by mercy that Krishna becomes or makes himself accessible. Atasi Krishna namadi na bhavet grahyam indriyar. Sevan mukhehi jivadav. Jiv adav means beginning with the tongue. Sevan mukha means a heart that is disposed. Or the condition of the heart is that it has loving sentiments. Submissive is a good start. Sentiment towards Krishna and Krishna's representatives. Then Krishna reveals himself happily. Otherwise Krishna does not reveal himself. Because there is an aspect to bhakti. Bhakti is the only asset by which one can purchase Krishna. Krishna becomes completely sold out to his devotee. Completely sold out. In fact, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur explains that the Supreme Lord makes himself completely sold out to a Madhyama Adhikari. And the Madhyama Adhikari is given like power of attorney. You can give me to anyone you like. What to speak of the relationship with an Uttama Adhikari? Even Madhyamas can freely give Krishna consciousness to anyone. Regardless, they think this person is qualified, they can give them bhakti. And Krishna makes it happen. So the asset by which Krishna becomes purchased is bhakti. And therefore he is careful who he gives it to. He is careful who he makes himself accessible to. If someone wants wealth, good health, beauty, knowledge, money, whatever, wealth, anything within this world, Krishna will happily give him. But he will not give himself. But if one has bhakti, then he becomes purchased. He almost becomes helpless in that sense. So very, very important. As that now that we have received the Bhakti Lata Bija, we have received it. It is up to us how we want to cultivate it. It is up to us is what's the quality of water that we will pour to make the seed germinate. It is up to us how we will interact with each other as Vaishnavas to make sure that that little 2 leaves that have fructified are not killed or wilted. Very, very important. And everything we do during the day somehow feeds or hurts the Bhakti Lata Bija. Now here's an important principle. We may chant nicely. We may serve very, very nicely. We may dance enthusiastically. We may eat prasadam, honor prasadam with great respect. These are all things that feed the Bhakti Lata. But if we carry even slight negativity towards another devotee, resentment, extreme cases is blasphemy, but resentment or dissatisfaction to even see a devotee, etc., then all of things that we have done are rendered useless. That's the power of being in the association of a Vaishnava. So we have to be very, very careful. What is our regard for other devotees? Whoever they are. In fact, in a broader sense, what we carry in our heart towards every living entity. That will determine whether all the things we have done will benefit us or not. Yesterday, Jai Jagannath Prabhu gave the analogy of, or the story of a bee licking the outside of the bottle of honey. So it's similar. We have nice Mahamantra, the best mantra. We have nice service. We have, everything is nice. But if we are not feeling, we are not having nice feelings for devotees, for people in general, for the living entities in general, then we will continue licking the outside of the bottle of honey. We have no access. So back to submissive spirit. Quickly, one story from Ramanujacharya's, actually from Lord Chaitanya's life, and then Ramanujacharya's life. This is a pastime that we've heard many times of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu meeting Prakashananda Saraswati. Prakashananda Saraswati was a fantastic Mayavadi sannyasi in Kashi, Benares. He was the head of 60,000 Mayavadi sannyasis. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not mix with them. Every day he would be dancing on the streets. So the others, they would speak. Who's this young, good-looking sannyasi wandering on the streets like a madman dancing? Why is he not studying Vedanta with us? They thought maybe he's a little sentimental. It's all right. Let him do what he's doing. So they were all talking about him. One Maharashtrian Brahmana invited all these 60,000 plus one sannyasis to his house for lunch. He also invited Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Lord Chaitanya said, no, I'm okay. No, please come. All right, since your invitation is there, I will come for lunch. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, he went and sat in the place where people would wash their feet. Like we have a shoe room. In India, it's not so much shoe room. We have a place to wash feet. Because before you enter the temple, you should wash your feet. And that's considered like a dirty place because everyone is washing their feet. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went and sat there out of his humility. And as soon as he sat there, from his body, he emanated the real Brahma Jyoti, full effulgence. And so Prakashananda Saraswati and all the sannyasis were attracted. Wow, what is that dazzling light? Like how Gokulananda Prabhu is sitting. What is that dazzling light? Wow. And so Prakashananda Saraswati walked up to Lord Chaitanya and he said, oh, why are you sitting here? He said, I'm not qualified to sit with all these great personalities like yourself. I'm happy here. No, please come sit with us. And he extended his hand. Please come. And so when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu held his hand and got up and went and sat with all of them, our acharyas explain that that is the beginning of Prakashananda Saraswati's transformation because he rendered submissive service. He was very submissive to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although he is a big, puffy, wuffy, Mayavadi sannyasi. And after that, whatever conversation that ensued simply melted Prakashananda Saraswati on all 60,000 followers. Immediately, in one conversation, they all became Vaishnavas. Nowadays, the Mayavadis are tougher. You can have unlimited conversations with them and the fellows will not budge. So the difference in that set of Mayavadi sannyasis and this set of Mayavadi sannyasis is that they were at least partly humble somewhere. That when they faced the truth, they changed. Nowadays, modern Mayavadis are very proud. They know everything. And because they're not submissive, they cannot even make proper inquiries. They are not qualified. In fact, you will notice, Mayavadis don't ask questions. They only tell you. They only wait for you to take a little breath so they can tell you. And then they will not take a breath. They will just keep talking. Because they know everything. In the life of Sri Ramanujacharya, I might mess up the names now. One devotee was given the instruction by Ramanujacharya to go to Tirupati and serve Arjunacharya or Anantacharya. Anantacharya was serving Lord Balaji in Tirupati. He said he had a particular question on one philosophical topic. So Ramanujacharya told him, you go and visit him and ask him that question. He said, all right. So he arrived in Tirupati and he said, Sriman Ramanujacharya has sent me because I have a question. So Anantacharya didn't even respond to that. In fact, he didn't even acknowledge his presence. He went about going and doing his activities. So almost a month passed away. He didn't even acknowledge his presence. We get offended if we are not acknowledged for about 30 seconds. For 1 month, no acknowledgement or something like that. Then he took courage and asked this question, I would like to ask you something. So Anantacharya said, today is a nice festival for Lord Balaji. Here, take and serve prasadam for all the devotees. After that we can talk. I said, all right. And he very sincerely served prasadam for hundreds of devotees who came. Then he was about to sit and have prasadam. Then he was said, now you get up and serve all the servers. Don't eat yet. I said, all right, whatever you say. Then he served all the servers. Of course, that serving and this serving, the way we serve is not the same. We serve buffet style, standing at is cafeteria style, standing. Vedic style is you hold the vessel, you bend down and you serve. You don't sit on the floor, you bend your back. So it's not easy. It's really tough. Because if you sit, then you can't move from one plate to another plate. And nobody will get their prasadam. So you have to stand, bend and move. So he sat down again and they said, oh, now hold on, don't eat yet. There are a couple of more devotees, you serve them and then you eat. I said, all right. And finally he got some prasadam to eat. So some time passed and then Ananta Acharya asked him, so what was your question? So he asked his question, something about the qualities of a devotee. And so he answered that a devotee is like I forget, 4 things. A swan, a hen, salt, and like you. Not a swan. What is it? A heron, right? Cock. Oh, yeah. Okay. Rooster. What else? Crane. Okay. And salt and you. Anyway, I'm not getting into the details of the pastime. But for me, the salt one is the most effective one. There are explanations of what these mean. He didn't understand, and he didn't explain also. He just let him go. He said, so one question, now you can go. So he came back, and then Ramanujacharya explained to him. Whatever the meaning, now I forget. I think the crane is that he is very focused in what he wants from the river. The crane doesn't eat anything. He just waits patiently for the fish to come. And then he picks out his fish. So this is one of the qualities is patience. About the rooster is he may peck in garbage or something, but he will pick the right grain. Or I forget. I might be wrong, but I forget. But the salt one that is very good for me. I really love this one. He said a devotee is like salt. Not because he's white and good looking, or not because of that. Devotee is like salt is because food without salt has no taste. Yet, nobody notices or appreciates salt, that which makes food tasty. He completely blends into the background, but he is the one who's giving life to everything. So nobody eats food and says, today salt was very nice. They say sabji was very nice. So the perfection of salt is to make the sabji very tasty. That means the perfection of a devotee is to make someone else look good for Krishna. This is the humble mood of service. As a devotee, our perfection is to make someone else look perfect for Krishna. This is the servant of the servant of the servant mood. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. But that's the perfection of a devotee. Be like salt. Not be, right in the forefront for all the credit. Maybe doing everything, but the credit goes to someone else. So we learn to pass on the credit to someone else, to other devotees. This is the art of a devotee. And like you, you were very patient and humble and submissive. That he didn't complain. Hey, don't eat now. Okay. Serve. Yes. Then he sat down. Not right now. Serve more. Yes. Meaning a devotee is always ready for serving. These are the qualities by which Krishna becomes very attracted. And so Prabhupada writes, but we cannot approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the speed of mind or words. But if we stick to devotional service, we can easily and quickly approach Him. In other words, the Supreme Lord is attracted by devotional service, and He can approach us more swiftly than we can approach Him with our mental speculation. Krishna comes running to the devotee because Krishna is very eager to see the devotee. Who is this devotee? I would like to see him. I'd like to be with him. When Raghunath Das Goswami was eating food or rice that was rejected by the cows, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to know, immediately Lord Chaitanya ran to see him. Because that's what was attracting Lord Chaitanya. So what attracts Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, in more general terms, simplicity. And one of the aspects of simplicity is submissiveness. Do like this. Okay. Do like that. Okay. The crooked nature of the heart is why? Why like this? Why like that? Why not like this? So simplicity is very, very nice quality. It's the easiest quality, or it's the most attractive quality for Krishna. And these prachetas had that simplicity. Father said, go do this service. Yes. Meditate under the sea for so many thousands of years. That's our preparation. But yes, whatever service you give, yes. Okay, any thoughts, comments? Kirtida Mataji, Raktak Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
You were speaking about how we should see all living entities, and depending on how we see all living entities, the respect we have will determine how our devotion grows.
Correct.
So I was wondering if you can speak a little about also having proper discrimination, because it's one thing to see all living entities a certain way, but sometimes we might think then that we don't have to have discrimination.
Really? I didn't say that.
No, I'm not saying you said that. I'm saying that could be a misconception that could come about. So I was wondering if you could speak about that. Proper discrimination.
The proper disposition of heart towards the different living entities is that they're all parts and parcels of Krishna. Yet, the maturity of a devotee is to know how to engage different living entities differently or according to their natures. We respect a Brahmana in one way. We respect a cow differently. We respect a fly or a mosquito differently. For example, to Brahmanas we render service. To mosquitoes we don't kill them. That's respect. We don't bow down to mosquitoes. Not necessary. So the discrimination is to know how to serve them. So minimal, as I said, submissive, one aspect is to respect. To respect every living entity's right to life. And more importantly, is somehow or the other be a conduit of Krishna's mercy to that living entity. If it's an ant, it's a little Mahaprasadam. If it's some other animal, Mahaprasadam. Some other person, Mahaprasadam. Like that. Mahaprasadam for everyone. For example. But we treat a Brahmana and a Vaishnava very differently. I mean, Vaishnava versus someone else. Raktak Prabhu, and then Luke and Glenn.
What is the difference between being submissive and humility?
Um, in the military, the persons were submissive. Correct? You have to say, yes, sir, whether you like it or not. So they're submissive. But they're not necessarily humble. Humility means acting in one's real position. And our real position is that we are a servant of Krishna. So we are submissive out of humility. In the beginning, we may not have that. So some submissiveness is still good. It's called Adav Shraddha actually. And someone might meet Srila Prabhupada or devotees and say, keep up the good work, nice job, whatever they say. They're appreciating a devotee. They're unknowingly being submissive to the idea that what you're doing is the right thing. They may themselves not take it up, but that's there. That's called Adav Shraddha. It is because of that, even if it is weak, it is because of that submissiveness that they can actually take sadhu sangha. So in our book distribution, Vaisheshika Prabhu taught us the radar, the hand, right? Hi. What does that do? It tells you where that person is at. Where is this person? And you know whether to approach or not based on hi. When people say hi back, you know that they are in a particular state of consciousness versus someone else. Nowadays people, whether they're talking on the phone or not, they keep the phone and keep walking. So like humility means to act in our position. A Brahmana's humility may be different from a Kshatriya's humility. For example, a Brahmana will not take up a weapon and fight because that's his humility, non-violence. A Kshatriya has to take up a weapon for his humility. Okay. Bhaktaluk?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
This question is kind of in the same theme as the past two, or maybe closer to Mother Kirti's. But when we're out on book distribution, for example, or in any preaching arena or place where we're encountering people who may be challenging in their questions, I was thinking about what you said, that mercy might also appear violent, but actually it is service and it's mercy. So we see, very advanced devotees taking that challenging position. When is that a good idea?
Well, you cannot give a blanket answer. It's a case-by-case situation. You cannot generalize it because each person is inspired by Paramatma in a particular manner. So every situation is different. You cannot generally say you should or you should not. So Lord Chaitanya took up a challenge with certain persons and did not with certain persons. Lord Chaitanya took up challenges with certain persons and did not take up with anyone else. In the lives of other great acharyas, like Yamunacharya, he took up a fantastic challenge with Kolahala and completely smashed him. That's right, the 3 questions or arguments that he has to refute. Rupa Goswami did not challenge, Jiva Goswami challenged. So each person, you have to understand that each person meets another person. Each devotee, advanced, meets another person, and accordingly they will deal with them. So there's no blanket cookie cutter answer for that. The blanket cookie cutter answer that will apply to all of us is try not to get into arguments, because we can very easily lose our mood of service and try to become Ishwaras. Because that's our default condition. We are Ishwaras. Little tiny, minuscule, atomic Ishwaras. And somehow it manifests with other living entities. So the way best is not to get into an argument unnecessarily, and just give prasadam. Here, have a cookie. Chill, man, have a cookie. And they become submissive to that cookie. That's good. And some will say, no. All right, have a wonderful day. Someone else. See, Lord Chaitanya's preaching was that at one shot, 60,000 devotees. Not possible for us. Huh? That would be a good record if we can do that. Lord Chaitanya, 60,000 is devotees for life. Our 1 out of 60,000 may be devotees for a week. There's a big difference. To make someone devotee for life, Prabhupada said the other day on altar, even if you make one devotee for life, Krishna becomes so jubilant. Just one. Which means it's not easy. It's not easy. People's minds change like anything. Like Jai Jaina says, pendulum. He can do it nicely, I can't do it. Like this. And 30 seconds later, like that. Like, wow. Okay, Glenn Prabhu? No, 8:30. Goloka?
It seems like we always say like we are very submissive. But
it seems like we think we are submissive?
Yeah.
Okay.
But if somebody gives us a feedback or something, we immediately go into the mental spin.
That's correct.
So how we can avoid how to check those things?
Ahara nidra bhayamaithunam cha. Bhaya, the tendency to defend, is so strong. In fact, it is the most powerful. It is said that defense can overpower eating, sleeping, and mating. Correct? Suppose somebody is eating and there's a fire in this house. He will run away. He is sleeping, there's a fire in the house. He will run away. He is mating, there's a fire in the house. He will run away. Defense is very, very strong. So that defensive mentality manifests in different ways, depending on what's coming at us. So when a physical object comes at us, we defend like this, or however we defend. When a verbal object comes at us, we defend in a different way. Or some other subtle comes, we defend it in a particular way. Because the defensive nature is there. So as Vaishnavas, and the defensiveness, a little bit more, that defensiveness is activated really by mode of passion and ignorance. More passion. Ignorant people are not defensive. Whatever. It doesn't matter. You give them feedback and they're like, it doesn't change them. Passion is just the one that's, So unless one moves to goodness, one cannot stop being defensive like that. But if you give feedback, they cannot take. Or we receive feedback and we cannot take it. That's because the heart is influenced by mode of passion. That's why you'll see if you give someone feedback, and the very moment you're giving feedback, they'll say, no, it's not like that. And 5 minutes later, they'll come back and say, maybe. Why? Because there is some thoughtfulness. Somewhere there's a little semblance of goodness that allows you to be thoughtful. But if it's passion, then they can't hear. No, but that's... And suppose we are giving feedback, then there are certain, suppose we are receiving feedback, then we know very well some keywords that awaken our defensive mentalities. You know what those keywords are? We all know. Prabhu, I'd like to tell you something. Immediately we are ready. What is he going to say? Or if someone appreciates us, then we wait for the but. We're coming. This was nice, and then we say, but we know something's coming and we have to prepare for it. There are all these trigger words, they're very special keywords that activate our defensive mechanism. Because we protect it. False ego is to protect this sense of I and mine. Right? That is what false ego is. I am this body. I am this intelligent person. I am this very good-looking person. So if you tell someone, you went out today and you had a bad hair day. Oh, they got so messed up. No, it's all right. The whole time they'll be fixing their hair because they can't take that. Therefore, Jada Bharat, he didn't care. No defense. What doesn't matter who said what. They kicked him, they spat on him, they urinated, and he was whatever. Sometimes devotees also dress like Jada Bharat, but that's what is going on. It's the mode of passion that is very active. Is that right? Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.